Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
The Daytona 500 is over. Time for the race review. Sorry, I am a day late. If you guys didn't know, I was at the 500, so wasn't able to get it up yesterday. And definitely a different experience being at a race and watching on TV. So if I missed anything or I didn't really see anything that the TV commentator saw, I just didn't hear or see any of it. So I probably have less knowledge of the race than you guys, to be honest. But it was a surprising Daytona 500, I will say. I was not expecting a good race. I really wasn't. I was expecting a train, and stages in the middle of the race kind of separated the pack because of pit strategy, but there was never really a train going on for really any part of the race. And these races are long at 200 laps, so it was definitely a good Daytona 500. Let's talk about it. So the Hendrick cars, William Byron, Alex Bowman up front, and I said in my preview that I didn't think a Hendrick car would really do anything. William Byron was arguably the best one out of the group. He stayed up there. He kind of, if he'd fall back, he kind of fought his way back forward. He was it was a good drive from William Byron with his first race with Chad Canals. But in the end, all four Hendrick cars had damage of some sort or wrecked in some sort, and that's very predictable. If I could place bets and go to Las Vegas and place bets on all four Hendrick cars wrecking in the 500, I would do it. I don't really know what the odds would be, but at plate races with Hendrick cars, they just seem to not race all that well or not be the best that they should be, and they wreck. And somehow they get involved in some sort of wreck. So that's what happened to the Hendrick cars. Big story of the race through pretty much all the race, I would say, and this was very noticeable even at the track, was Matt DiBenedetto in the 95 of Lee Biden Family Racing. He ended up leading the most laps overall for the Daytona 500, but he was also just very fast. And being there in person and watching the cars go around the track and seeing the moves that he makes, the decision-making that he did, and it was definitely a good drive from him. There was a point in the race where pit strategy separated the field with Fords all working together, and something that I didn't think was going to happen, as I said in my preview, I didn't think the Toyotas and the Chevys would work together. I just didn't see it happening. But in the race, from what I saw at least, they were working together in terms of pit strategy and in terms of lining up against the Fords, especially, I think it was the second stage when every single Ford, or it was either late first stage or second stage. My memory's a little bit hazy, but every Ford was lined up in the top row. They had the pit strategy right because of a caution that fell. I think it was at the end of stage 1, and they were able to line themselves all up, and they tried creating the train. And Toyota and Chevys all of them went to the bottom. And I think it was a clear sign of a partnership that was formed between those guys, that we're going to go fight against the Fords because we know the Fords are going to just really try to work together and be super loyal. Even if, like, let's say, Paul Menard or Clint Boyer's content with running 9th in line, they'll still stay there, and for some reason, I don't know why that's so stupid. You're not going to win from 9th in line, but whatever. The Fords are really going to work together, so Toyota and Chevy wanted to do it as well, and they really did very well. And so back to Matt DiBenedetto, he was leading this line. There was a 6-car breakaway in stage 2, I think, as who won stage 1? Kyle Busch won stage 1, I think it was, but in stage 2 with the pit strategy and stuff, DiBenedetto and this 6-car group ends up catching the Fords that pitted on lap, I think, 13 or 14 of the stage because they wanted to, run the stage backwards. So DiBenedetto and those guys were able to get all the way up to that pack. And then what surprised me was DiBenedetto was very racy, and he wanted to try to put these guys a lap down. So that was a really interesting part of the race. I think we backtrack a little bit to lap 50. If you are a Bubba Wallace fan or anyone like that, a Kurt Busch, there was one of the first incidents of the race was Kurt Busch and Ricky Stenhouse getting into it. They were, I don't know if there was contact made, I really can't tell, but there was just some contact or air, whatever, moving around, and that sends Kurt Busch sideways. Bubba Wallace I don't know if he couldn't get on the brakes or what. He just kind of went right in there, and then that ended his day. Stenhouse would be fine. Kurt Busch would have a little bit more left rear damage, but I think he'd carry on as well. Skip ahead to the end of stage 2, with certain cautions falling the way they do. I think it was a short little shootout for the stage 2, and Ryan Blaney's in the lead. William Byron, who's been having this good run, is trying to pass him in any kind of way, but Ryan Blaney ends up winning stage 2, gets the playoff point. And now we're going to skip ahead, because I think, like, this point of the race, from the end of stage 2 to when pretty much the next incident happens, kind of just logging laps a little bit, but still, it was good racing. There was no train going on or anything like that. So, a weird incident that ends up taking out guys like Jimmy Johnson. Stenhouse is involved as well. Coming down pit road, I don't know what happens here. I guess Cody Ware in the 31, and they just tangle up, and then everyone just goes flying into pit road. Jimmy Johnson and Ricky Stenhouse are literally just sitting there like, what in the hell just happened? Stenhouse gets away with it. He doesn't have a lot of damage, but Jimmy Johnson's right rear is completely torn off the car. Or I think it was left rear. Left rear is completely torn off the car. So it's just like, where does that even... You're not expecting that heading into pit road. So that's... Especially for Stenhouse. Imagine Stenhouse already being in pit road and then just getting drilled from behind. Like, it just makes no sense. It's kind of like, what the heck just happened? So that was a really weird incident. And then let's jump ahead to around 10 laps to go. There was not a big wreck yet, so the energy in the field and the pack was still going. And you saw, I think, the restart before this was like 30 to go, and then, until then, they were racy, to say the least. They were going 3 wide. The pack there was a lot of energy in it, and drivers were trying to make moves. And at this point, drivers also didn't really care about risk, or, they just kind of were very aggressive, to say the least. So 10 laps to go, and you're trying to win the race. Kyle Busch, who I honestly believed, if it wasn't going to be a Ford, I had this weird feeling for the last few weeks that Kyle Busch was going to win the Daytona 500. I don't know why, it's just he hasn't done it. So I really thought, once I saw Kyle Busch in the lead with only a few laps to go, I was like, it's shaping up to be that Kyle Busch wins the 500. So I was really thinking it'd be him, and then just chaos ended up ensuing. So the first wreck of the big wrecks, which is also the biggest wreck that took out the most cars, happened when Paul Menard was drafting with Matt DiBenedetto and pushed him too hard, hit him the wrong way. DiBenedetto goes sideways and takes out pretty much half the field, just like the Clash wreck, and a lot of good cars got taken out in this. Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola, Suarez, Ryan Newman, just to name a few. DiBenedetto as well. This one really sucked for Matt DiBenedetto because, again, he led the most laps. He didn't do anything wrong. He just got pushed the wrong way from someone behind him. And this happens all too much at plate racing, to be honest. Unfortunate for everyone, it's a racing incident. I guess no real blame to go around. It's just part of the plate racing. I guess DiBenedetto moved a little bit, and then Menard moved a little bit the other way, and it just kind of a zig and a zag situation, and that's the big wreck that happened. So it was kind of unfortunate to see that, because that's when you kind of... I think I felt mostly for DiBenedetto. I think a lot of the crowd felt for DiBenedetto. And then, all the other guys that got taken out as well. There's some good cars in there. So, move ahead to the next restart. It's Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin who are on the front row. Kyle Busch is not really, I don't think he's working with Hamlin at this point because he decided to take the bottom. Usually, if you're working with someone, the leader takes the top and then, you drop in. So, what I saw was Kyle Busch didn't do that, so I didn't think they were working together. So, Kyle Busch is out here. He's trying to win the Daytona 500 all for himself. We come back to the back straightaway, and same spot, same kind of wreck. Well, a little bit different this time, actually. So Logano almost turns Mcdowell, and then that, checks him up, and then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. he just decided to go for a gap that wasn't there. Larson's like, what are you doing? And they just collect, and then there they go. So Ryan Preece in the 47, haven't mentioned him, but he's able to shoot his way through this wreck. He was doing a really good job there. William Byron was able to sneak his way through that one as well. And Chase Elliott, who was involved in the last wreck, but I think got away from it, and then also involved in this wreck, he still was fine, though. He didn't get a lot of damage. He just went for another kind of half spin through the grass, and he was fine. So this wreck wasn't as big, but just another one of those people are trying to push. We're not even fully up to speed yet. Mcdowell almost gets turned because of that pushing, and then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just does what Ricky Stenhouse Jr. does, and he just bombed through that gap trying to find something, and it ended ended up wrecking a few guys. So then we try again, and it's Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch on the front row again, and Joey Logano is trying to find a way around these two, and then you have Michael McDowell up there as well, William Byron's still up there, Ryan Preece, Chase Elliott trying to fight his way from the back, and Clint Bowyer is up there as well. They're heading down the back straightaway. This is when everyone wants to make the moves. Clint Bowyer decides to try to leave Michael McDowell out of line. He takes it 3 wide, and then he just comes up. He wasn't clear. He tried clearing himself. This one finally takes out William Byron and Chase Elliott, and Ryan Preece shoots the gap again. Is able to get through it. Side note, in post-editing I saw this. Watch Landon Castle, the red and blue car. He's trying to just shoot the gap and whop into William Byron. Jesus Christ. So good for him. But it's just another wreck in, again, the same spot in the track. This one's a little bit different from the others. It's just Clint Bowyer was trying to he was trying to basically leave Michael McDowell out and clear him. He wasn't clear. Simple as that. Ends a few guys' days. All these wrecks that are happening is all because it's the Daytona 500 and people are, you know, they've basically lost their minds. Everyone's trying to do something for themselves and trying to win the race, which they should. It's just that sometimes the moves that they make, it's not that they're too aggressive. I think you have to be aggressive to win, obviously. It's just they're rushed. They're not thinking 100%. Kind of like this one. Bowyer wasn't clear. That's that simple. But you only have 2 laps to go, and you have to be able to get yourself in that top 3 area. Clint Bowyer knows that. He's not going to sit behind Michael McDowell and be like, oh, I'll push Michael McDowell and somehow win the race. No, he probably knows that he has to get around Michael McDowell, and that's what he was trying to do. And if he would have gotten stuck on the bottom lane entering 3 and no one came to help him, his race was over, so he had to try to clear, and that's what happened. So more wrecked race cars. I didn't know how many were even left at this point of the race. I really thought it was between 3 guys. I thought it was between Hamlin, Bowyer, and Logano. McDowell was still up there, so was Ryan Preece, but I was just like, I don't think they really have anything, to be honest. So I think Eric Jones was somewhere around there as well. I didn't really see much of Eric Jones all race. I didn't see much of Eric Jones all weekend. I mean, to be honest, I completely forgot he even drove the 20 car for a second. But I was thinking, I kept thinking Kyle Busch was going to win. I just thought it was written in the stars that Kyle Busch would finally win his Daytona 500. But I think I thought Logano was a little bit, he was outnumbered. He'd have to pass 2 JGR cars by himself. How is he going to get the run? How is he going to do it? So with little cars left in the pack as well, Denny Hamlin is in the lead. Kyle Busch is in second. And Kyle Busch had a few chances. There was one chance, especially coming out of turn 2 on the first lap of the restart, where I thought maybe he could try pulling a move, but it looks like it just stalled out. You knew Logano wasn't going to help him. Logano was going to try at all times to get around Kyle Busch to get into second place. So this is when I really thought heading into the white flag lap that Denny Hamlin had it, because those 2 behind him would just not work together to get around Denny Hamlin. So as the laps continue on, Logano's trying to find a way around Busch. Busch is trying to drag his brakes to get Logano on his bumper to get a run, and those 2 just don't work together. And so Logano eventually ends up passing Kyle Busch, but then Logano can't get the run. And then Kyle Busch ends up passing Logano back, and they're just side by side, and Denny Hamlin is just, all he has to do is just kind of slowly block the air a little bit, and he's fine. Once Logano and Kyle Busch were side by side, it was a done deal in 3 and 4. You knew Denny Hamlin was going to come back around to win the race. Michael McDowell was trying to do something, but at this point, because Busch and Logano were trying so hard to pass each other instead of working together, that's when, you know, there was just no chance to get past Hamlin. I don't know what I would have done if I was Logano in that 3rd spot, because you kind of hope Kyle Busch makes the move early, like with 2 laps to go coming out of turn 2. That way the 2 leaders can be side by side, and then maybe Logano could get a run on them somehow. But when 2nd and 3rd are continuously trying to get runs on each other and pass each other, instead of trying to get a run to pass the leader, basically everyone has their own intentions, and it doesn't really work. That's why being the leader is so important in these races. I say it all the time. You have to control these races, and what Denny Hamlin was able to do was put himself in position, in the lead with this car, and that's the best place you can possibly be. That's why guys have to be aggressive all race, so they can try to lead every lap, so they can be in that position to win. And that's what Denny Hamlin did. He put himself in that position. There were not enough cars behind him with all the wrecks that happened, there was not enough energy, and the guys behind him did not want to work together. And when all that adds up, if you're the leader, you're going to win. And so that's what happens. Denny Hamlin wins the Daytona 500. It was a good story also because of J.D. Gibbs, who passed away. So a good story. And also JGR finished 1, 2, 3. So that's the first time that has happened since 1997 with Hendrick Motorsports when Gordon won it and the two guys behind him. I think it was Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Eric Jones as the top three. Eric Jones, I honestly did not see him all race. I had no idea where he came from. I have no idea how he finished third. But he ended up finishing third and Logano fourth. So the final race results. It's Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Logano, and Michael McDowell. McDowell ran a good race. I don't know what else I don't know if there wasn't enough speed in the car maybe. But I don't really know what else he could have done. He had really no friends out there, so I didn't really know what he could do. Ty Dillon in 6th, Kyle Larson in 7th, somehow got to 7th with all the wrecks. Ryan Preece in 8th. Jimmy Johnson had no left front, no left rear. His car was completely destroyed. Ends up getting in the top 10. Ross Chastain finishes 11th. I messed up. Ross Chastain finished 10th, not 11th. Alex Bowman finishes in 11th. And everyone else is basically a wrecked race car. Brad Keselowski 12th. Stenhouse, Newman, Kligerman. That rounds out your top 15. Everyone else down here is again, a wrecked race car. Austin Dillon, Chase Elliott, LaJoie, McLeod, Boyer, Byron, McMurray, and then you could just carry on down and see all your favorite drivers that ended up getting in those big wrecks earlier on. So I said in the preview that a Ford would win the Daytona 500. Wasn't the case. Toyota and Chevy showed up. They worked together. They got the strategy. The bottom lane was alive. I don't know really why, but it was. It's good news for the racing. So it was all good news. The drivers came to play. I think early on in the race, you saw the aggressiveness from everyone, which is what I've been preaching about it for the last week. I'm saying if you want to win these races, you have to be aggressive and you have to try to lead every lap. And it seemed like almost everyone in the field wanted to go up there and race. So that's what created the really good show that we had. A few wrecks that happened later on in the race. It happens when people are trying to go for the Daytona 500. You have every single car in the field in contention with 10 laps to go. If you're running 20th, you're going to have to make some bonsai moves to try to get up towards through the field. And, you know, if you're just pushing hard and stuff, the wrecks happen. So if you don't wreck early on in the race, you're probably going to wreck later on in the race because of just the mental thing of this is the Daytona 500, I got to go win it, and you make the moves that are crazy. So overall, it's what the Daytona 500 is all about. There's really nothing to complain about. You had good racing early on. You had pit strategy in the middle, even though they're kind of running in lines and stuff in different packs, but that's the pit strategy part of the race. And then from that point on, it was just a track position battle of who can put themselves towards the front and defend that area. And then towards the end of the race, you had your entertainment, your calamity, your wrecks, your big ones, because everyone's trying to go for the win and they're just losing their heads and going for it. So this race had everything. I don't really see what's wrong with the race at all. If you're complaining about it, I don't know what you want to complain about. It literally has everything someone would want. Good pack racing, strategy, and craziness. So 9.5 out of 10. It's a good Daytona 500. Ratings were up, I think 8%, so good for that. And we move on to Talladega. I think at Talladega, for a plate race, they're not going to use this package. They're using the tapered spacers thing. I don't know how that's going to work. Let's just see how it goes. Next week is Atlanta with the new aero package, the 550 horsepower package. I'm still not going to think it's going to be a good race, but we'll see how it goes. It's new. It's different. Let's see what happens. So I will be watching it, and let's see how it goes. I'm not going to, I'm going to go with low expectations. I don't think it's going to be that great, but hopefully I'm surprised, just like with this Daytona 500, and it's going to be a good one. So, you guys, comment down below. Did I miss anything, especially on TV? Did they talk about anything that I didn't talk about? I don't know what they talked about, to be honest. It's definitely a different experience being in the 500. I definitely had a great time there. I didn't record any footage or anything because I just wanted to enjoy the day with the people that I was around. So I didn't record anything, but I definitely had a great time. Thank you guys for watching the videos and subscribing and giving me opportunities to go to like the Daytona 500. I can't thank you guys enough because the reason why I go to that race is because of you and for you watching the video. So I really appreciate it. Comment down below, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. and subscribe if you are new. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you are not already. And again, let me know if you want this kind of style with the, I know the audio is not as good, but with the camera, which just gives a little, the phone camera, which just gives a little bit better quality, or what I used to always do where I look like a ghost, and my webcam, but I have like an external mic and it sounds better. So just let me know which you think is better, just so I could just continue doing it in whatever way that is better for you guys. So I will see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. See you at Atlanta next week. Peace out.
I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change, even if I tried. My love, she keeps me warm.